guys, it's Carrie with Happy Fish Tarot, and today I am going to do another segment of the series that I call Dear Tarot Tuesday. So it seems to kind of span a long amount of time between me actually doing Dear Tarot Tuesday, and I want to start doing this a little more frequently again. Basically, people can write into me with questions for the cards. I pull a few cards on video, everything is done anonymously, and I try to give a little bit of guidance. So if you're watching this and you like this idea, please do reach out to me and let me know what's on your mind, and I might be able to give you some tarot wisdom in a future video. So I'll put my email address below this video. So today we have a question from an anonymous seeker, and I will read it to you. Dear Tarot, I have been going through a major amount of personal growth in the past couple of years. Lately I have been getting frustrated because I know I'm maturing as a person, but no matter how many life lessons I think I've learned, I sometimes find myself backsliding or even sabotaging myself. I am a blogger, I write about spiritual growth, and I see other bloggers who act like they have everything figured out. Then I wonder what is wrong with me. I could use some perspective from tarot on how I can deal with this. As always, I did shuffle these cards quite well before I started filming. I will give them one last shuffle and then we'll get going. Okay, and we've got the Ten of Wands, Ace of Pentacles, and Father of Cups. You had mentioned feeling frustrated and feeling like you're backsliding, and I wanted to explore that feeling a little more in depth, and we'll do that with the help of the Ten of Wands. So when I think about growth, any kind of growth, creative growth, spiritual growth, just growth that we experience as a human being, I always think of it as a spiral process instead of a straight line, and I actually made a video about this a while back. The Ten of Wands is the final suit before we reach the court cards in the suit of Wands. And in the picture on the card, we see a group of wands that seem to be kind of all bundled together, and it's almost that feeling you're describing of knowing that there has been progress, but feeling like you're now reaching a point where that progress is either becoming unsustainable or is temporarily slipping beyond your grasp. The first piece of advice I would give you specifically would be to bring yourself back to congratulating yourself and recalling all the growth that you have done so far. The phase that you're in now where you experience backsliding is a natural part of integrating lessons and moving on with your growth. You don't need to feel like this is indicative of anything about your value as a person. This doesn't get rid of the fact that you have grown previously. This is just a natural part of the growth cycle, and it happens to be the part that you're in right now. So the first thing again that I would say is to remember that even though right now it feels like those lessons are tumbling away from you, those lessons that you previously felt you had a grasp on, that's not really the case. This is just a natural part of the cycle of the growth process. The other thing that this card brings to mind for me, based on what you've shared with me in your email, is that life is complex, and we see that as an illustration in the picture on the Ten of Wands. We always wish that our growth was tidy and that we could keep everything together and keep everything nice and smooth, but the truth is life is full of intricate details that sometimes are hard to form a coherent grasp upon. So this again doesn't mean that your growth is negligible. This doesn't mean that you haven't grown already. It just means that it's good for you to recognize that you'll always be growing and you'll always be learning. And once you master one set of lessons, a new set of lessons will present itself to you. So to some extent, that feeling of always having more lessons that are coming into your life is a natural part of the human experience. But what we don't want to see, where it starts to become hard for us, is when we reach this Ten of Wands feeling where we feel like there's just too much for us to keep track of and too much for us to handle. So I want you to work on reframing that and just work on being okay with where you are right now and not feeling like you have to try to come to terms with all of these lessons at once. We'll take these messages even a little further with the Ace of Pentacles. I mentioned this already previously, but sometimes when we get wrapped up in frustration and in self-sabotage modes, we do forget to look at the solid indicators that show how much progress we've already made. So one thing that could be useful for you right now is to set very simple goals that you can meet every day, very tangible, practical things that you can check off to help yourself remember and to affirm to yourself that you are making progress and that you are growing. Even when that growth seems slow or stunted, it's always happening. So it can kind of help you consciously accept that fact when you have a way of physically seeing what progress you're making every day. This could be as simple as even just keeping a to-do list and checking things off as you move throughout the day and just being very organic in your growth. Or you could do what I like to think of as a reverse to-do list, where instead of writing a list at the beginning of the day of everything you have to do, you can ease some of that pressure by, at the end of the day, going through and listing everything you got done, because you'll probably sometimes find that you're learning things and you're progressing in ways that you don't even acknowledge because they're just kind of happening as you're going throughout your day. So if you commit to noticing those things and taking them in small little chunks as you go along, that could help you get a better perspective. There's so much juice behind this question you've asked, and I feel like we could go on all day, but I'm trying to keep it manageable here. So the last thing I want to address with the cards is what you mentioned about other bloggers and how they seem to have everything all figured out. So let's talk about that a little more with the Father of Cups. There's a few things that this card brings to mind for me to relay to you. One is kind of the age-old advice, which is to take your focus back to yourself. It kind of really isn't any, or it shouldn't be, any of your concern what other people are learning and where other bloggers or any other people are in their growth process. You are responsible for you. You can only have any sway over the flow and the course of your own life and your own actions. This card also stood out to me in light of the fact that you mentioned that you blog about your growth, your spiritual growth. The Father of Cups I see as somebody who is very emotionally intelligent, and this suggests to me that one way you could think about how you're going through right now is to consider it almost fuel or something to kind of propel your forward motion in your blogging, because what a lot of people look for when they're reading material about spiritual growth is something that's vulnerable and something that they can relate to. And I think we like to see people who are honest about their struggles. So this doesn't mean you have to go beyond where you're comfortable emotionally with your sharing, but I think that this could be a good lesson for you, and when you do reach a more centered emotional state, I think you can find ways to talk about what you're going through in such a manner that other people can connect with you and it can resonate with their experience. So like I said already, this is a topic we could probably go on and on about all day, but we'll leave it there for now. Thank you so much for asking this question. I hope you found something useful in what we've talked about today. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if anyone watching has a situation of their own that they would like me to try to dig into a little bit with the tarot, feel free to reach out to me. My email address will be below the video. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye.